Introducing Marvel Universe's Storm. Who is Storm? Storm the superheroine first appeared in Marvel Comic Universe in 1975. She was created from the brilliant minds of Dave Cockrum and Len Wein, whom envisioned something that was missing in comics at the time, a female superhero of color that black women could identify with. Storm was Marvel's first female black superhero. She appeared in the X-Men animated series. Equally as spectacular, Storm is a mutant, meaning a subhuman with supernatural powers. The X-Men series narrative inadvertently tackled racism, being that the show is based on a society that hates mutants simply because they are different. Trials and Tribulations. Storm was born Ororo Monroe to David Monroe, an American photojournalist father, and a Kenyan princess mother named Indare in Manhattan, New York. Storm's maternal bloodline includes powerful African priestesses, making Storm a part of a royal African pantheon. However, in natural superhero fashion, Storm was orphaned at a young age when her parents were tragically killed in the midst of an Arab-Israeli conflict. A plane was shot down from the sky, careening into her home, killing her parents upon impact. Little Ororo was trapped in close proximity of her parents' bodies for a time. This tragedy traumatized Ororo and would affect her for the entirety of her life. However, the tragic ordeal became a call to action and a turning point in little Ororo's life. For the very first time, a terrified little Storm utilized the superpowers she wasn't aware she possessed to conjure a windstorm, removing her from the corpses of her parents and the destroyed remains of her home. Storm grew up in Harlem post her parents' death, orphaned and mostly homeless. Storm was adopted by Ahmed El-Gabar after being found by street urchins. Ahmed taught little Storm a very bad habit, the art of thievery. During her young adult life, Storm became wanderlust and traveled the world. During her exhibitions, Storm was nearly raped, causing her to kill a man in her defense. This caused her great inner turmoil. Storm was driven by nature and yearned to become one with her Earth Mother Gaia and her native roots, so she traveled onward to her mother's homeland in the African Serengeti. Storm garnered love and was exalted as a goddess of life by the Maasai tribe when she conjured rain during a severe drought. However, new to her powers, Storm didn't conjure rain but rather displaced it from another region, causing mass death amongst the animals. Storm struggled with her newfound powers and received counsel and guidance from a Maasai elder who taught her how to meditate and gain control over her emotions and powers over the elements. Storm's role in the Marvel Universe and the X-Men. Due to being homeless and orphaned as a child, Storm learned to be independent and witty. Storm met Professor Charles Xavier while attempting to pickpocket him. Professor X later gives her insight on what she is, which is not just a goddess to be idolized by the Maasai tribe, but a mutant. Charles Xavier offers her an opportunity to join a league of other mutants just like her, if she steps away from her goddessship, running the risk of being hated and hunted for all her life. Storm is understandably torn and reluctant to choose a simple life of a tribal royalty over the tumultuous life of a mutant, barely grasping what she is. This is Storm's dilemma, and as a result of making the difficult choice to join her mutant peers, Xavier affectionately dubs Ororo Storm. Storm succeeded Charles Xavier as Dean of the Mutant School and leader of the X-Men after the tragic death of Cyclops. Storm experienced a lack of confidence in herself when her powers were accidentally stripped away due to being hit by a device created by her peer, Forge. Feeling defeated, she returned to Cairo, but later decided to join the new Mutant Task Force and the X-Men in battle against opposing villains. Storm became royalty twice over when she married another Black Marvel hero, Black Panther, who was king of Wakanda, and would go on to travel as a liaison seeking to improve mutant government relations by establishing forces to protect identity of the mutants, keeping them safe. Well, in the comics, the government wanted the mutants to register, create a registration to register themselves so that they would be known, kind of like having an ID. But of course, people did not like mutants in the society, so that will put them in danger. Storm's supernatural abilities and weaknesses. Storm possesses psionic abilities to manipulate weather, wind, and tidal currents, and conjure storms at her will. Storm can command lightning bolts with her hands, as well as cause rainstorms and severe droughts. Storm can control air pressure, giving her the ability to crush aircrafts. She flies using aerokinesis and to manipulate wind speeds of up to 300 miles per hour to lift herself and others at will. Storm has extraordinary locksmith skills and can pick even the most daunting locks. Storm exhibits excellent hand-to-hand combat fighting skills and marksmanship with firearms. Storm's ability to alter weather can be affected by her emotions, and rage can cause her to bring about a destructive storm. Her weaknesses. Storm suffers from a severe case of claustrophobia that is a result of the PTSD caused by her witnessing her parents' death. Claustrophobic fear can cause her to lash out and be destructive or cripple her abilities altogether to concentrate in order to tap into her supernatural abilities. A few examples of how claustrophobia crippled her in battle can be witnessed when she was entrapped in a wall of rocks and felt hopeless to help her comrades who were being throttled at the hands of Juggernaut. Upon seeing the sky, Storm was able to get her confidence back and she fought back to save her friends. Another example would be when she was entrapped in a statue by Doctor Doom and it crippled her abilities. Mythical deities comparable to Storm. Okay, so in row one we have Thor, Zeus, Horus. Honorable mention, there's also Set. I didn't include him because we didn't have enough room or space or time. Row two we have Shop and Indra. So all of these deities have to do with weather. So we all know Thor's Norse. We all know a lot about these deities already. But something that I found really interesting is that Storm has a relation to Loki as well. In one of the comics, Storm nearly became the Asgardian goddess of thunder when Loki, the Norse trickster god, gave her a magic hammer called Stormcaster, very similar to Thor's. But she wisely declined his offer after realizing that he was deceitful and just trying to manipulate her. We all know that Loki is a good old con artist, and anything he does is mostly selfish. It's not for your benefit. Heroes and heroines inspired by Storm. So we have DC's superhero Black Lightning, who is arguably inspired by Storm. Black Lightning is a black male superhero who's an educator by day and a superhero by night fighting crime. His abilities are electric. He has electric willing powers that were acquired by a futuristic belt. His daughters also have powers that were inherited by their father. His oldest daughter, Anissa, is also called Thunder, has the ability to manipulate her density and send shockwaves to the ground by stomping. His youngest daughter, Jennifer, also has abilities, but she hasn't learned to control. Very, very similar to that of Black Lightning. Black Lightning has a TV show that currently airs on CW right now. It's a really good TV show. Actually, you should check it out if you haven't seen it already. Also, amongst DC Comics, we have Static Shock. Static Shock is a teenager with metahuman powers that he attained by being exposed to radioactive chemicals. And he is a hero in another DC comic pantheon called the Teen Titans, which we all know DC drew inspiration from the 12 children of Greek mythology's Uranus and Gaia. Static Shock, too, has electromagnetic powers that allow him to manifest electric energy. How I relate to Storm. Much like Storm, I grew up experiencing trauma. As a teenager living in Pine Hills, a West Orlando neighborhood that was notorious for gun violence, so notorious for gun violence that the news affectionately called it Orlando or Crime Hills, I saw someone killed before my very eyes. I held a shirt to a girl my age's chest as she bled out and asked me to call her mom and relay her very last message. I had to put on a brave face and stand in the gap for a total stranger when I was just a 16-year-old walking to the store for snacks. I'm actually pretty blessed because I did not bring my nephew, and I ended up getting nicked on my leg in this experience. I thought about bringing my 1-year-old nephew, but at this particular time, and I usually bring him everywhere I go, but this particular time I said, no, you have to stay home. And I'm so glad because I would not have been able to push a stroller while I walked and ran away from bullets. I had to muster the strength and clarity to understand